there, Facebook. I'm trying to get used to the sun on my hair at the moment because I've worn a cap for so long. And today I just really wanted to get some sun on my hair. I haven't had it cut since my son decided that he wanted to go and be a hairdresser, and I let him cut my hair. And I've been waiting for him to come and get it. So anyway, I have to come live before my head explodes, because if you imagine a multi-agency framework, so if you've never ever ever walked into a child protection meeting, let me take you somewhere. So imagine going over to your council office, and you know when you go, doesn't matter if you're paying I need to put my cap on a bit, because when I'm like this I need to put my cap on. When you go over to the council office, it doesn't matter where it is, or you go over to sort of like social services or something like that. So imagine going in to, say, pay for a parking ticket or council tax or something like that. So basically you would go into like very, very dark. So it would be like going into the headmaster's office, right? And you would go into a big board room, sort of like lecture type, or it might be sort of like classroom pushed together tables, but it will be an elongated table, right? So imagine you as a free being. So basically I am me, Kelly. I'm female. I have a vagina. I have breasts. I can give birth to a child. So let's take Harry and Meg, right? So let's take Harry and Meg, Meg has been diagnosed with hypermobility, which makes her a high-risk pregnancy, right? So all of a sudden, there are services available to Meg and her baby and to her husband to understand the diagnosis and prognosis of hypermobility. They haven't mentioned EDS in it. As I've just done that, I've just caused a bit of a problem in my neck. Sorry, guys. I've just literally... Now you can... Oh, shit, a ducker. I've literally just like... You know how my wrist flicks over? Well, imagine that going all the way down my spine, and it's just flicked over. So I'm burning quite a bit in my left side at the moment. So my battery is going to go. So imagine all of a sudden so basically Meg will have a health visitor, yeah, and that health visitor is there to bring the baby into the world. She's there for the sorry, not a health. She will have a health visitor. I would assume that every child under 5 has a health visitor, yeah? Legally, you are entitled to a GP. It's not law. You don't have to work with your GP. You don't have to go to the GP. You don't have to necessarily work with a health visitor. You don't have to necessarily have a midwife. But we have to say that maternity issues have advanced so much that there was once a time when you said you were pregnant and men actually said, "Oh, wow, we're having a baby," rather than what you get now. It's not mine. Oh, it won't be mine. How would it be mine? Diffusion of responsibility. But when said child comes into the world, there is a responsibility and a duty by the parents. There is also a legality to make sure you register your child. I don't know how many countries of the world that they have this in, because in some countries you want to see they can travel in their own country, but they can't get off it because they don't even have passports. They have like a piece of paper to go onto the plane. Like, don't think the rest of the world lives like we do, or we live like the rest of the world, or the rest of the world we're the right or they're wrong, or whatever. But take again, as I said, Prince Harry and Meg. Meg has recently been diagnosed as hypermobility, which means that there's a high % chance that she would give birth early, despite the fact that she actually went overdue with her son. But they're saying it's a chance, right? So I have, as you know, been a high-risk pregnancy. I wasn't the first time because I wasn't diagnosed, but I went into labour with Liam instantly with waters breaking, just pipping 4 weeks, 3 weeks in, um, and not, as in coming to the end. So 3, 4 weeks early. I can't remember now, but literally it was a case of I went to bed and went, oh, my waters have gone out, here we go, and nothing. Just literally waters have broke. I had to be induced in the end. We don't talk about maternity issues. When you walk into a child protection meeting, that child protection meeting is basically protecting the child. So say you're having, as Meg, giving birth to a baby, mother is now diagnosed with hypermobility, not talking about EDS, but as you know, there is a war and debate between hypermobility and EDS, just as there is for Asperger's. Take Elijah. I spoke to Elijah about his cough tonight, and I said, Elijah, how would you feel about me taking you in to get a COVID test? And he said, don't be so silly. I haven't got COVID. I've got a cough. Okay. This particular cough has gone on now for just over a week. But Elijah's had constant coughs all the way through. I had bronchial issues. My dad has asthma. My brother has asthma. My son Daniel has asthma. Bronchial issues go hand in hand with EDS anyway. So whatever situation, say a mother goes for a scan and she's told we need to do a further test because we believe that your child has Down syndrome. Or take, for example, myself, who didn't find out at the scan, but did find out at the birth of my child, and my mum found out by literally being told, Elijah, do you want some of your medicine, dude? Just 2 seconds, because he's... Oh, it's because he needs his blanket, he says. He needs his blanket, mess. Let me just get you Vicks. 2 secs. I'll turn this off. Let me just put his vape next to him. So basically, I found out when Liam came into the world that he was born with a cleft. Now, whether you're an old person or a young person, social care, that means social and care. I think the 2 words alone should say it all. That it's about your social environment, whether you're business or working, your health. It's about caring. Pretty much integrating you into the community despite your limitations. So when it comes to a child, you would have, the mother would automatically go to the doctors and go, hey, we're pregnant. The doctor wouldn't give a shit because they don't have time. They'd have about 5 minutes to maybe be able to see you, quickly do your height, weight, thingamajig, make sure that, everything's okay. Want to understand your family history. This is when my problems start, because I can never, ever, ever answer the family history. So, whether it be Megan, whether it be me, whether it be a child leaving foster care, whether it be a couple who are working class, whether it be a family who are in the Houses of Lord, whether it be the Queen herself as she was having her children, just as we have what would be said Prince Harry and Princess Meghan. So it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter whether you're in India. It doesn't matter whether you're in the UK. It doesn't matter whether you're in Afghanistan. It doesn't matter where you are. A man's penis enters a vagina and a baby is made. A baby then is incubated within the womb. We are not like elephants. We don't carry our children for 4 years. We carry our children for an incubated period of 9 months, yeah? That 9 months basically means that we nest and we prepare and we do all of these things in nature, in natural laws. It is not natural to receive a letter, say you go to see your doctor, you get referred over to a midwife says blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden there is cause for concern for the baby's welfare. And it could be because it's got a 50-50 chance of having a connective tissue disorder like myself. Not that they give a shit because there's no funding until they're 5. It could be that the baby's going to be born with Downs. It could be that there's even a chance that the baby's going to be stillborn and the mother is going to need some form of consolence and counselling, and the father and the family to grieve their loss, bereavement counselling, right? There is a natural structure and order for pretty much everything in this country. The cough that my son has now, there is medicines that we have over the counter, and there are natural remedies that we can take. But there are coughs, and then there are coughs, and there are prolonged coughs, and there are persistent coughs. Then we get to the spaces that the eye cannot see. What the eye cannot see, we have advanced in technology in such a way that breaks of an arm or leg can be seen under an X-ray. We have MRI imaging scans. I don't know if you've ever been into a hospital for any of these form of scans, but we have such advanced equipment to be able to check people's lungs, neurology, make sure people's hearts are okay, tubes up people's bums, tubes down people's throats. The machine is only as good as the person who's trained by the eye to read the information on that scan, whether it be asthma, bronchitis. These are two very different things. But we still don't have this system that gets this. We have what was, it's changed now, what was called SEN, special education needs, special needs education, whichever way it was. SEN, SNE, SEN, special education needs. It's now called Education Care and Management Plan, which is still not good enough. But imagine you walk through the door and then you are seated and greeted by, so even to get to that room, you would have had to have been sent a letter to invite you to a child protection meeting, for them to make a decision whether there is any cause for concern for that child. The problem is child protection only sits in the remit of psychology, which says that abuse and trauma is sexual, physical, emotional. There is no medical neglect, because not many medical neglect cases have ever been brought forward to create such a precedence. That's not corruption. That is just a child protection system that started through police. So in order to be under child protection, then that matter is police, which makes it criminal, because they're looking for criminal intent to a child. Is that person got the psychological capacity to raise and parent that child fit to what you sign the birth certificate to say that you are responsible for the basic needs of those child? And the needs on the birth certificate are pretty quite basic, about providing the roof over their head, food and things like that. We go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is what the whole fundamental system here in the Western world is built on. It's built on things like Piaget, Freud, people who, people, not even just psychology, but, people who were advanced like Einstein, and people who are pioneers in fields. So even now they would say sort of Elon Musk can tell you whether he decides whether crypto goes up, down or whatever. He makes the decision. He's just dropped it, and now, if he wants to have a temper tantrum and knock it all out, he'll do whatever he likes. And this is the same thing. So even this platform that I'm on, take my website. My website is seated in GoDaddy. GoDaddy can take that down at any point that they like. My videos here on Facebook. Facebook can take me down any time that they like. YouTube on thing can take me down at any time. TikTok, my phone, Apple can take me down at any time. It's not controlled and enforced by me. And that's what happens when you walk through that door. And that's what these people are not understanding, in the fragmentedness of the world for people who go through this system and the matrix. When I went through the gates of Save the Family, I remember very clearly, and I have an email account in my old emails that did send me all the downloads from all my previous accounts. I've never ever lost an account without doing a download very quickly, or hadn't had done one like prior to post not being done, so I had the full download. So it should be on there, and I know how I was feeling. I was in a Avis rental Audi. I had Liam with me, Aaron with me, and Faith with me, and I was already struggling with the fact that I was having to deal with the decision made for Daniel to remain going to school while I dealt with this gap in my life, which was a 2-year gap of finances for self-employment, and that's all I was really dealing with. Whatever decisions that I make in my life now, wherever I go from here, I can design my life in any way, shape, or form. If I want to get in my car and go down to Cornwall for this event, which I really do need to be there, and if anyone does want to make any contributions towards a petrol for the travel for things that I'm doing on a mass level, then please do. On my website, you can go on to the whatever and stick it in my PayPal and just say what it is that you're wanting to help out with. Please do. I'm not government funded. I'm just one damn mother who's been a mother since she was 17. Been a mother since I was 15. So imagine a 15-year-old already under social care, already living in foster care, who has had sexual intercourse with her partner and has conceived a child. Because I'm 15, I'm underage, therefore the decisions cannot be made by myself. It's conflicting statements about my mother during this time in my paperwork. In fact, it actually says my mother is really not happy that I've made the decision to have a termination. It wasn't my decision to have a termination. Between the foster carer and the social worker and a doctor and another doctor, because there's conflicting information in my medical notes, and it's very, very, very lucky I have all of this paperwork, because I had the tests were done on the fetus to see if the fetus was healthy, and it mortified me when I read this paperwork that the doctor had ordered an examination on the fetus because of what I had told him that the social worker had told me. And I'm going to hit a really fucking hard part in my life right now that I have never had the chance to ever really talk about. I sat with my mum in a car after this, and she just told me of her own experience. There was no emotional connection. I had to fight the social worker to even be able to ring my mum. In fact, I think I locked everybody in the doors and went and took the phone, and they kept saying to me that I wasn't allowed to ring my mum. So and it was one of them ones you couldn't take away from the hallway as well. So I literally just shut all the doors, went in and rang my mum, and my mum came instantly. I remember just waiting to speak to my mum. I had no counselling for what they did, and I woke up from the surgery table crying my eyes out. A 15-year-old girl absolutely sobbing, and I remember grabbing Lee going, why did you let them do this to me? Why? And we were just underage. We had no authority over making the decision. And as I've seen in the paperwork, the amount of people who made that decision for me and I had to agree with, there's no signature from me allowing for the termination. All there is one doctor saying the mother tells me because of the medication she was put on. So at that age, as soon as I went into foster care, yes, my foster carers were trying to help understand what the medical complications going on with me. It was very, very clear that there was something going on, and they weren't sure, and they thought it had a lot to do with my diet, and they thought education, health and things would help. And they did try in them ways, and she did take me to the doctors, but I thought she took me to the doctors because she cared. I now understand she took me to the doctors because it was a looked after medical. So I remember my looked after medical quite well, because I was a bit shocked on why I had to go to the doctors, why I was going with this other woman. But it was also nice because it was the first time, rather than my mum going in saying, she's lying, she's attention seeking, I actually had someone sitting there going, well, come on, we're seeing blood on the toilet roll. She's going through goodness knows how much toilet roll. She's vomiting, she's passing out, she's not getting up in the morning, she's struggling in pain, blah, blah, blah. You know, she sits in funny positions, blah, blah, blah. And obviously they knew that there was something else going on. And the fact that I broke down about the gang rape that I hadn't told anybody about. So at the end of the day, when I've looked back to the amount of people who had access to the knowledge of my personal traumas, and also with a psychology degree and coaching and mentoring people for years through sexual abuse trauma, I've done it for years. I just don't do it as a paid job. I do it by people that I meet at the times that the Lord says I'm to work with this person, and I stay with them until, you know, they've what do we call it, close the gap, so to say, forgiven themselves, basically. It takes a lot to forgive yourself from trauma. It's not even necessarily about letting go of the hot coals to forgive the people who've done it, which is hard enough in itself. But to forgive yourself is one of the hardest things ever, especially losing your children. To forgive yourself, knowing full well that it doesn't even matter if you just didn't understand the child protection laws. You know, I lost my children. I wouldn't lose them now. It wouldn't happen to me now. I mean, they could trigger me off. Yes, they could. You know, I've already been told tonight that stupid little bitch cow down there has already said that she's going to cause me dramas, and he's told her, you dare. And if she does cause me dramas that cause for the police to come and knock on my door and ask me about something that I may or may not have said to the woman across, which actually I haven't, she's shit stirring as always. He's even said, I don't know what it is, but she's had it in from you from the day you even moved in here. She was already down here, you know. Says it goes in one ear and out the other, apart from the other day you put down, because they know I've got the bailiff's deed going on. They know that it only takes for 2 police officers, 2 social workers to be stood in front of me, and that brings me horrendous trauma. It would be like a dog that has been taken into an RSPCA van in quite a horrendous way, and then trying to settle them into a family, and you all know that that is a sign for chaos. So one, and let me finish this because I need to go and move Elijah and put him in his room because he's got his little plug face thing in there, so and he needs to sit up. So take Meg and Harry. For whatever reason, social services have decided that they need to think about the baby, not the family, just the baby, because it's come through a midwife that you're high risk birth, and then from there it then goes high risk, and that's it. I guarantee you, if social care turned around, and so basically I have actually got a video on how the child protection process works and how the child in need one works. But basically, for those that have ever been through a child protection, you'll know that there's no reading time anymore, by the way. You don't walk into a room, and I'm going to touch on this soon. You don't walk into a room anymore. It's all done over not Skype, it's all done over meetings. So people are being told over meetings that they're losing their children. Josie's had her final contact, by the way. She only just told me this yesterday, that she's had a goodbye contact. She didn't tell me this. She's had a fucking goodbye contact, and she's just in shock right now. She's in shock. I can't get through to her, you know. She doesn't understand that her daughter is still not adopted, because they have told her she is, and it's like, no, they coerced her into signing. They coerced her because they bullied her. They told her she'll never amount to anything. She'll never be a good mum. She'll never be this. She'll never be that. Her daughter's better off. You can't win. You can't do. You've lost. You've lost the parental assessment. Could you imagine them doing a parental assessment on Meghan and Harry? Because don't forget, Harry uses drink to deal with his mother's grief. So straight away, we've got a child protection issue already, haven't we? Because she's married to somebody who's got a drinking problem, basically. And he's very pro mental health. Is there mental health issues? So there's 2 boxes straight away. And Meg, well, you know, many people say she's a narcissist. Shall we get a psychological report? Okay, so let's send Harry and Meg a document to say we have cause for concern for the welfare of your child, and based on that, we invite you to a legal planning meeting. And at the bottom of that letter, it says, if you ignore this letter, we have the powers to go to court to remove your child. Wow, what do you think Harry would do?